And good evening, folks. Just give us a second here. We're trying to get live on both streams here. So maybe one of you guys can keep an eye on YouTube and on Facebook for us. Looks like we're live. And there comes my coffee. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, fresh coffee. Isn't that nice? Welcome back to the page. It's Chris Kerwin here from Astronomy by the Bay. And of course, I have Mike Powell and Paul Owen here with me this evening. Mike from the PFO Observatory here in St. John, and Paul from the Hampton Observatory, Moon Shadow Observatory in Hampton. Say good evening, guys.
Good evening, guys.
There, good evening, guys, yeah. So tonight's show, first of all, I'd like to welcome back the guys, and let me get myself straightened out here. Hang on, there we go. I think I'm on both screens. Okay, good. So welcome to part 3 of our workshop on choosing the right telescope equipment. Now that these workshops are going to run maybe a little bit longer than an hour, but hope you can stay with us as we have a lot of material to cover again tonight, and we want time to answer your questions as well. Hey, Peter from Toronto. So far we've talked about the different types of optical tubes, the reflector telescope, the refractor telescope, and the SCT telescope. And last week we talked all about telescope mounts, alt-as mounts and equatorial mounts, the good and bad of each along the way. And on tonight's show, we'd like to focus on telescope accessories, finders, eyepieces, dew heaters, solar filters, and more, and all to help you get the most out of your stargazing. And then on next week with part 4, we're going to discuss what to bring with you to make your evening under the stars an enjoyable one. And finally, probably we'll give a little bit of recommendations as well as we move along through the last episode, or last workshop. Paul is also going to present Rosanna's fun facts for us tonight. We've got a few photos to show as well, entries that came in through the page. So sit back and enjoy. And remember, this is a live broadcast, so if you have any questions about astronomy equipment, this is the time to ask. So let's get started with a bit of reviews from the last 2 weeks. So really, the first week we covered was mostly reflector telescopes, those with using mirrors, refractors using lenses, and the SCT telescope using a combination of both. And then we talked about alt-as mounts, which are mounts that just move horizontally back and forth and up and down, like this big Dobsonian telescope here behind me. And the equatorial mounts, of course, that are used to focus on Polaris and to follow the night sky. And some of those are computerized tracking scopes as well. Some are just manual scopes. I'm going to say good evening to Robert and Lewis and Sighorn. Hi, everybody. Peter from Toronto, Jack Wallen, and Mike is on. Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike. And Ben. Hi, all. And I say good shout out there to my brother Danny as well, who's always watching on Sunday nights. So we'd like to give a shout out to him as well this evening. So let's get started with a little bit about I guess I was going to be up first, so I'm just going to take a second here, switch my camera, see if this works. Hopefully it does. Now we're going to flip to this one. And there, that's a little better. Okay, so you can all still hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, so let's stand back here just a bit. And what I wanted to do really back here was just grab some stuff off the table. So when we're talking about telescopes and accessories, one of the main things that we need to talk about is dew. And dew can be a real issue for us at the eyepiece, of course. We're in an environment here where we have a lot of moisture to deal with. And our telescopes tend to fog up a lot with moisture, and our surfaces will get very wet. And when they do, of course, that's an issue because it limits our observing time or our imaging time. So there are several options really for dew prevention on telescopes, and one of the simplest ones is this, which is a dew shield. And all it is really is a piece of plastic material. It has really good Velcro on it. It just opens up like this. But when it folds back up again, this one here is actually off of a Nexstar 8SE telescope, so an 8-inch optical tube. But you can also make it down to a 6-inch optical tube. So it has 2 strips on it that can be used for either an 8 or a 6-inch telescope. And all you do is just line up the 2 lines again, and it fits over the top of your telescope that way. And I'll just use this little guy here for a demonstration. Maybe we can get him a little bit farther over here. Let's take a look at him. Let me move my camera a little bit. There we go. Kind of like that. So this one does, of course, doesn't fit this one. This is only a small 4.5-inch scope, and this is a 6-inch dew shield, but it would basically fit over the top of the tube like this. And what it does is it creates a column of air between here and the telescope, and that column of air takes a lot longer for dew to develop in that area. So it tends to protect your telescope for part of your evening anyway. Depends really on how humid your conditions are. When they're really humid, this isn't going to work. It'll get you through for maybe the first hour or so of observing, but then after that, you're going to need something else. And that something else is going to be something like this guy. This is a Kendrick dew remover system, and it's 12 volt, so it plugs into a battery pack that you would have with you, hopefully, to run your computerized scope. But if not, you'd bring one along maybe anyway. Battery packs we can get at places like Canadian Tire, or you can build your own. Mike's gone through a talk there about building your own battery pack. And this one just simply has an on-off button and a low and high setting. So you can set it to whatever you think the dew conditions are going to be for that evening, and you may have to dial it up a bit or back a bit if you want to save some of your battery life. On the side it has 4 ports, and those 4 ports I'm going to show you what they're for in a second here. So that's a simpler model. And I'm going to show you another model that I picked up. Just one second, I can find it here. Hopefully I got it with me. Parts and parts and parts. So this is the other model that's out. It's called a Dew Buster. I really like this one. It's worked really well for me. It has, first of all, it has 12 volt inputs at the bottom, so you can power equipment off the 12 volt sections here. But up at the side here are 2 medium ports on the other side, which are medium temperature, so they would get power all the time. And then the top 4 ports actually are controlled by a sensor. And what happens is you use an ambient temperature sensor, which is similar to this wire right here. I'm just going to bring this out for a second. So this wire has the probe on it and a connection point that plugs into your Dew Buster. And this probe sits up in the ambient temperature like that. Sorry, this plugs in the top. This is where that goes. Yep. So all it's doing is it's measuring the ambient air temperature instead of having to turn the dial to a pre-selected or maybe a point where you think it might be okay. This actually is measuring the actual correct air temperature. So I can set this for anywhere from 0 to 20 degrees above the ambient air temperature. And it's a pulsated signal too, so it's not on all the time, it's pulsing, which tends to cut back on the usage of your battery, so your battery lasts a lot longer. So that's another option right there. When I plug in one probe on this one side, it controls the top 2 ports. Another probe on this side would control the other 2 ports. So when I'm running my 11-inch telescope with my 4-inch or my 3-inch refractor sitting on top of it, I've got a diagonal, I have a number of eyepieces, and a Telrad, so I might have 5 or 6 heaters running at the same time. You want something that's going to be stingy on power, but still do the job for you. So that's the one I use for that purpose. If I'm just out with my 6-inch telescope or my small 8-inch telescope, I would use the more basic model and take that along with me. That works very well as well. So that's the different types of dew controllers out there. There are other ones called Fireflies, which kind of operate a little bit differently. I don't have one of them to show, but they are a little bit cheaper as well. And let me show you some of the dew heaters now. So a dew heater is just basically like this one right here. This is the one for my 11-inch scope. And all it is a wrap with a wire on the end of it that has an RCA jack on it. And that RCA jack plugs into, of course, the port on the side of the controller. And inside this wrap are just a series of resistors. And the resistors are at a high ohm rating so that they provide a lot of resistance for power to get through it. So if you provide a lot of resistance, then they're going to heat up, and that's going to heat the strip up. Now you can make your own as well. If you go to YouTube and follow through YouTube, you can find lots of people out there who are making their own homemade dew heaters. These can run anywhere from a cheaper one, like an eyepiece one, a smaller one. Let me find one of them. This is a smaller one that might wrap around, say, a 2-inch eyepiece. Good part here. Well, I got to wrap around that to hold them all together. Let's pull it apart here. Probably should have done this ahead of time, right? These Velcro strips are magnificent, aren't they? When you don't want them to hold things together. So here's one for eyepieces right here. This would wrap around an eyepiece. This is good for 1.25 or 2-inch eyepiece. And again, with the RCA jack on the end of it. Larger ones, of course, are going to draw more power for larger jobs. But they can come in different sizes. You can get ones for 1.25-inch eyepieces, for 2-inch eyepieces. I even take one and wrap it around my diagonal on my telescope instead of wrapping around the actual eyepiece, because sometimes these will get in the way of the eyepieces themselves, but they'll work good around a diagonal. And the purpose of them, again, is just to try to eliminate dew so that you can get a good evening out observing without having to deal with that. Of course, they're more inclined to be used in very humid conditions, or evenings when you've got a lot more of a humid sky. Tonight's really nice, dry, clear conditions out there tonight, so we wouldn't need anything like that tonight. And of course, when the wind is blowing, your telescope is going to move around a lot, but it does keep the dew level down because moisture level's down as well at that time. So that's an example of dew prevention. Any questions on that?
Dan, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Garrett says that your dew shield is also good for blocking stray light.
Absolutely, yes. And I was going to bring my light shroud up. Maybe when you guys are talking, I'll bring one of them up too. There is something called a light shroud that goes around, which is kind of like a half of a dew shield. And it's made, Mike's got one, I got one, and it's made just like half of this lip. So it would fit around the telescope this way. So when you're looking in the eyepiece, you're blocking that stray light from coming in from the side. So it doesn't act as a dew shield to prevent dew, but it does act to prevent light from entering. Sure. Just a sec, Mike. I'm going to click on you here on both screens. Second. There we go. Yeah, so there you go. That's a light shield. So made of the same material as a dew shield, only just cut out in a design so that, and they do work very well, especially in a place like we go, where we go down to the Irving Nature Park and there's a lot of cars coming by and that kind of thing. If we're looking at an object and we don't want headlights in our eyes, they'll really work well for that purpose. So that's a light shield, or light shroud, and the dew shield. And of course, with this larger one too, when you've got a truss stop like this one, we'd also use a light shroud around this one. This larger daub, I don't know if you can see it there. Hang on, let's click back on me again. That'll probably help. There we go. And there we go. So this is a truss tube daub, which means it's open all the way around, and a lot of light can penetrate down through this. So I would put a light shroud up here on the top, but I would also wrap this with a shroud that would fit around the outside. It's just a cloth, really, that goes around it, and it has a piece of Velcro on it to hold it together. Try to get them that they don't block your light stream as much as possible, but that would also act like a solid tube then. So it takes a long time for dew to collect on your primary mirror at the very bottom. That's a long column of air for moisture to penetrate before it can get down to the bottom and ruin your view. What it can do, though, is get up to this top piece up here, the secondary mirror that sits here. Moisture can get in here a lot quicker. So some guys take a dew heater and wrap it around that secondary mirror as well. I've seen that happen. I've also seen them use the little hand warmers and wrap them around them as well. And that works well. So that's dew prevention, and there is one other thing here. So there's the idea. So these little pack of hand warmers you get, if you're really stuck, take one of them out of the package, wrap it around your eyepiece, and put elastic around it, and you're good for a couple hours that way. These are actually the toe warmer ones, so they've actually got adhesive on the back side of them, so they work really well for a small telescope and small eyepieces. The other one I was going to show you is this one I picked up off eBay, and it's really not to do with a scope. but it's more to do with the camera. But you can use it for a scope as well. Let me get my cables uncoiled here. So many parts. We should be ashamed of ourselves, guys, but we're not. This one is really kind of neat. It's a little strap. Mike, I think you've got one of these as well. It picked it up off eBay, I think it was around $10. But it wraps around, it can wrap right around a camera lens or even a small refractor, a small telescope, and again, just with Velcro on it. But the unique thing about this one is that it has a temperature control on it here, and it's USB. So if you've got a battery pack that has USB power, you're all set. Or you can use one of those little battery banks that you buy there. I think that one's a 2000 amp hour or whatever, and plug it into that. Turn it on, and where you've got power, and you've got remote dew heat. So they work really well, and that does heat up pretty well for a small little 5-volt DC package here. So that's another option for you. You can get those battery banks now for anywhere from $10 to $30. They haven't got one. Maybe they do have a lithium-ion one out large enough now for a 12-volt telescope, but they're usually pretty popular in the 5-volt section. So any other questions on dew heat before we move on to the next?
Yep. Amber McNally was asking if you are using the more basic model of controller,
Mm-hmm.
can you tell if it's turned up too high, or does anything happen, or is it just using more battery power?
So nothing really happens except for the fact that you're going to see that there's no real no dew collecting on your eyepiece if it's turned up a lot. But set it for the lowest setting that you possibly can without collecting any dew. That's the best way to do it. It's all going to depend too on the amount of moisture that is occurring outside. Of course, as the night moves on, usually end up getting more and more moisture. But what I try to do is just make sure that it's kind of lukewarm to just warm to touch, basically. And as long as it's slightly above the ambient temperature outside, then it's not going to collect a dew.
Mike also has something that I can't find anywhere, and he's got one of those little DC operated hair dryers.
Yeah, right, exactly. If I get mine with me,
You got one too?
I do.
Oh my goodness.
Do. But it's not right here. But there is. Maybe Mike, have you got yours right handy, Mike?
I do.
Do. Hey, we picked the right topic tonight. Do. Hang on, let's click over to Mike here.
It acts like a hair dryer if you have very short hair. But, they're actually sold as melt-away to melt the ice. You plug it into your cigarette lighter in your car and melt the ice off your windshield.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it works exactly the same way. It's a 12-volt little hot air blower. And that works really great if you want to get the dew or frost off your secondaries and stuff even that much faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works like a charm. It's a great little piece to have to the side.
Yep.
You know, as long as you got battery power, you're good to go.
That's it.
I
Yep.
found that in an antique shop of all things because I don't even know if cars have cigarette lighters installed in them anymore.
No, probably. I don't think they do. Yeah. No, that's another great option. 12-volt hair dryer for sure. And there are. I think you can get them on Amazon as well. I think I've seen them on there.
I'll have to find one.
Yeah.
Just keep shopping Value Village.
There you go. Okay, so that's dew covered, I guess. Again, your favorite old little hand warmers are really great to have. Grab a half a dozen of them, throw them in a bag, and have them with you in case you get stuck. Those in a pack of elastics can get you through an evening for sure. They take a little while to warm up, but once they do, they work up pretty well. The other thing I really wanted to talk about, I guess, was cell phone adapters, and that's something that a lot of people are into right now. I guess everybody likes to get a shot of the moon or a planet or whatever. And over the years, I've done a lot of outreach, and I've offered a lot of people the opportunity to take pictures of the moon or planets or whatever through my scopes. And to do that, you have to be able to find a way to connect your eyepiece to the telescope. I don't know if I have an eyepiece right here. I should have been a little bit better prepared for that. Anyway, I'm going to show the adapters anyway. So I do have my phone though. That'll work. So they range from all different kinds of prices and styles. I'm going to dig out the three that I have here. And so the three that I use, I've used a lot, I guess, in the past. First of all, I started with this one. So I can get onto my other camera. Hang on a sec. We'll flip that over. There, back? Okay. So the first one I purchased was this one, and it works fairly simply. These are pretty popular on eBay and on Amazon. They're made by different companies. One popular one is called Go Sky. All they do really is that your phone sits inside it like this. Your eyepiece would be sitting here. You clamp it in place, turn the little knob in place, and then you adjust your phone back and forth until it fits over the eyepiece. Very simple. So this clamps down on top of your eyepiece. Pretty simple little design. Actually, there's an eyepiece right here I could probably show you. Comes off of another one. So this one will allow you to use any eyepiece. You don't have to use a specific eyepiece, but if you want to try more magnification or less magnification, you just change out your eyepiece. So this is how it works like this. That's your eyepiece, there's your camera, and you just try to line it up as best you can. Now that works really well for a lot of applications, and for somebody who wants to take a photo of the moon, planets, and you want something pretty simple that works out well, yes, they do work out well. The only thing about these I found, they're a little bit awkward with some scopes, and more than anything, I wore it out. I actually wore out 3 of them. Just because the amount of times that I have people at the scope, and usually it's just the material inside here, so I replaced the rubber material a couple of times on this one to get me through for an evening if I didn't have my other one with me. And these can also go from 1.25 to 2 inch, so you can look for the size when you're buying them. The opening here can either be 1.25 eyepiece, or you can get the ones larger for 2 inch eyepieces. So that's a very popular device. They only run about, they're around $15 on Amazon or eBay. And there's several different manufacturers of them now. A lot of people have copied the same design. The other thing about this is kind of neat. If you unscrew the pieces here, and this is what I do when I'm offering a view on my Facebook page of a live view of like planets, that kind of thing. On the bottom there's a little 1/4 screw adapter. So you just set that on top of a tripod, thread it in, and set your phone in it, and now you've got a nice way to capture the sky that way. So that's what I was doing last night when I was offering, although I didn't have it turned the right way. I was offering the moon and a couple of planets that way. And I'll do that a lot. Kind of like a selfie stick, only without the stick. So that's one option. Your second option is one like this, and this is made by Ioptron. And what it does is it comes with a fixed 12.5 millimeter eyepiece, so that eyepiece is standard. But you can screw in a Barlow in here, or you can put a filter in there as well as threaded threads there. Okay, that's just my speaker in the background. You can thread a colored filter in here if you like, or a neutral density filter if you're looking at the moon, and you can actually screw a Barlow in there or a 0.5 magnification focal reducer, and that works really well too. And this one actually just slides apart like this, and so all you do is turn the screw on the side, tighten it in to the phone, and it accepts a lot of different size phones. Some of the longer phones, the smaller little iPhones, that type of thing. And on the back there's just a threaded screw here that you tighten up. That one runs about $35-40 I guess now. They were around $50, but I think they've come down quite a bit. But the only thing about this type is that you can only, because of the thread configuration here on this eyepiece, it can only be used with this one eyepiece. You can't substitute eyepieces in with it. But you can put a 0.5 focal reducer in it, or a 2x Barlow screwed into it, and that'll work that way as well for the moon and planets.
So Chris, a couple
Sure.
questions. First one is from Dan.
Yep.
And I think he was talking about the first rig that you showed.
Right.
And he wants to know, does it fit a 2-inch eyepiece in it?
Yes, you can. Now, yep, you can get them for either 1.25 or 2 inch. You have to order that type though. You have to ask for, or you have to look at the fact that it's either 1.25 or 2 inch eyepiece. It won't be both.
Okay.
Yeah. There is
then,
one. There's one made for 2 inch, and there's one made for 1.25 inch.
okay. And then Mark Thomas, I think he's making a statement. He bought the Celestron for about $100 off, and
Wow.
Top Gen 4 Photography got the same thing as the person on camera right now. Forgot his name. I'm not, I'm not sure which one that.
Chris.
I think he's
Me?
probably,
Okay. What was that again? The comment was
he's probably talking about the one you're going to be talking about soon.
okay. The Celestron XYZ. Yeah. So that's the one I was going to move to next. So there's two of the options: the cheapest, the mid-range, and then we're going to go to the, I guess, the most expensive, but probably the one that was probably the best engineered of all. That's this one here. This is called the Celestron XYZ adapter. I'm going to get the box there for a second. Here's the box right here. And this is how it comes in the box. Right there. And you can see how it mounts on the scope. There's a side view of the box. So basically, this one does clamp around both 1.25 inch and 2 inch eyepieces. So it has a clamp here, and it has a little wheel here, a little thumb wheel that tightens in to give you tension against the clamp, so it can't open up. But it will open up to full 2 inches for a 2 inch eyepiece. So that's one good advantage of it. And the reason that it's called an XYZ is because it rotates and it moves things in all three axes. So there's the x-axis this way. Oh, sorry, that's a y-axis, and then there's the x-axis this way. You see the top there moving back and forth, and then it also moves in and out this way. So you can adjust it in 3 different directions, and it'll accept pretty well all phones. I think the Note 8s, like the big Note 8s, they're really tough. That's almost like carrying a laptop with you, though. But you shouldn't expect to be able to get that in most of these clamps. But you can see that there's a clamp on the side here that opens up to allow it to accept most phones. So my phone, for instance, my Huawei phone, just drops in like this, and then I set that on top of my eyepiece. I adjust the clamp, turn the thumb screw, then set it onto the telescope and adjust the three different dimensions until I get the camera sitting exactly over the eyepiece. Now the other good thing about this one is that it does have adjustment screws. So after you've used it a number of times like I have, there are actually little tiny screws, if I can find them here. They're that tiny, see? There they are, way in there. I think you can see them or not. Probably not.
No.
Way in there. They're little tiny little dots there at the very top. So those are little adjustment screws right up in here. And what they do is they allow you to put tension on the 3 sliders. So after a while, these get a little bit sloppy, and that allows you to retighten them back up again to put more tension on it, to firm it back up again, so it's like new. So that's the 3 different types of cell phone adapters that I've used. I know there are lots of other ones out there, but out of all 3, I'd have to say that the Celestron did very well in engineering this one. Don't drop it, especially on a concrete floor, because that's what happened to my first one. I had an armful of parts, and this was kind of sitting in my arm, and it fell, and it cracked the bottom piece, and that was it. Bought another one. But yeah, it seems to be very well made. Like the gears are well placed. Everything is well placed. It fits very nice and smooth. If it's too smooth, or you can adjust them up for tension. Fits most phones. I haven't found a phone except for, like, say, the big Note 8s that I haven't been able to use with it yet. I use this one for 2 seasons now, and I can't say how many hundreds of people that have had photos through it, but a large number. So yeah, they work pretty well. So $15 one that works great for if you're just doing it for yourself, personal use, and maybe a few friends and you want to get a photo of the moon and planets, that kind of thing. They do work very well. There's no doubt about it. Just make sure that you get the right size, either for 1.25 or 2 inch eyepieces. This one comes with its own eyepiece, cannot be changed out, but it's nice and easy to adjust. You can put a 0.5 focal reducer in it, or a Barlow, or even, and it does have threads on it, so you can put filters inside it, so you can dim the moon down, or to have a nice look at Mars with a nice planetary filter, that type of thing. And thirdly, the Celestron one. So that's about it for me.
Okay. So a couple of comments.
Yeah. So
Robert Cadet was saying that he has difficulty using that one with his Howie phone.
Huawei.
with what? Okay. So guys, I'm just getting comments here that you guys are both low in your volume. I don't know if you want to turn them up a little bit, or you can.
Really?
I think my volume's fine.
Okay.
I think.
I'm getting Robert and Trudy were saying they can't hear Mike, and Paul, your audio is low apparently. So
Yeah, I was talking low.
okay.
I wasn't saying anything.
No. That's probably the reason.
One other
Okay.
comment, Chris.
Yep. Sure.
Raymond Kwong, he finds aiming the camera lens to the eyepiece and adjusting the distance between the eyepiece and the phone both quite a choice, or chore, I guess he means.
Hmm.
Then there is the issue of the eyepiece itself reflecting stray lights.
That's true.
Those,
Yeah, and it is a chore to get it set up. Once you've got it set up though, for most phones it works. Like it does take some time. If I'm outside in my back deck, for instance, and the few neighbors have their yard lights on, I can get some reflected light in around by between the eyepiece and the camera lens.
yeah,
And then you need to get it focused properly. So that's where you've got it for focus is exactly where it's no good for stray light. But you can adjust your scope too for focus. So I try to do both. I try to adjust the phone for focus and the scope for focus at the same time. And I do find that, and my phone actually has three different cameras on it, so it flips between cameras if you try to zoom in too much, and it'll go to wide field. So it's really kind of annoying that way. But I do find that this one gives you the most options. With the other type, they are fixed on the Z axis, so they cannot move in and out at all, and you've got to actually physically move them in and out if you want in your eyepiece holder. Or you can move your cups up, I guess, on your eyepieces as well to give you that distance a little bit. But I try to get it as close as I can to the eyepiece in most cases with the XYZ, and then I just play with my focus a little bit on the telescope, and that usually brings it back into focus. But I do find that this one is the best for most phones that I've seen, like of all the different types of phones that are out there, where no matter where your camera is, if it's off to the right hand side, it's in the center, far left, you can adjust this one a lot easier than you can this one to accommodate. But again, it's your preference. I do a lot of outreach. That's why I bought this one. If you're just using it for personal use and for just a few friends or whatever, certainly take a look at these ones. These have high reviews as well. Any other questions? Hopefully I answered them.
no. Dan was just mentioning that you can buy the NextYZ on Amazon for $42.
Wow, that must be American.
I guess the volume issue has to do with YouTube, not Facebook.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's not us.
sure
It's
why that would be.
Facebook.
They can't hear me on YouTube.
Just check the OBS.
Is it
might
just? Yeah, I'm
work.
just going to check the OBS here now for a second.
Yeah.
Let's try this. Okay, try talking there now, guys. Maybe that's a little bit better. I have to got mic and desktop audio turned right up on those now.
If anybody's on YouTube, notice if it made a difference.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay.
Daniel says Paula Mike's volume is low. I'm not sure when that came in.
Okay, that's
And
yeah,
you're
a little
saying
while
you
ago.
can't hear me either, so I'm not sure what's going on there, Chris. But
Okay, I got OBS turned right up to max right now on both the mics and the volume.
Apparently, everything on Facebook seems fine.
Okay, could someone comment again on YouTube maybe to just let us know if it's any better?
Yep, a
That's
little bit
better.
better.
Okay,
Not much for the Trudy, but
a little better, not
we'll
much. He says. Okay,
do our
so
mic and talk louder. How does that sound?
yeah, can you guys get your volume turned up any or not on
I'm
your
using my
mics?
webcam one, so
Okay,
but if the volume's okay on Facebook, it's not us.
yeah,
It's the
Right.
transmission on YouTube.
Same volume I've done for 26 other shows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
okay. Well, I've got it maxed out on OBS right now.
Okay.
Just bear with. I'm just going to check the properties on it here for a second. Sorry for this, folks. Just need to be sure we're good.
I can throw my headset on and see if that will help. I can't imagine.
No, yeah, it's maxed right out on both sections of OBS right now.
Okay.
Okay, everybody on YouTube, move over to Facebook. We'll swing back later.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to. I find this better when you guys wear your headsets. A little louder now, not as loud as Chris. So maybe, yeah, if you guys can wear your headsets.
Yeah. Or just take yours off.
And then no one can hear anybody. That's a good idea. Good plan.
We'll just
What kind of a show are we trying to run here anyway?
hand signals.
Okay, I guess that's my talk on what was I talking about? Oh, dew heaters and cell phone adapters. So who wants to carry apart the next part?
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I can say something to start with something simple. The first accessory you get when you get a telescope is going to be your eyepieces. And there's a generic set that usually comes with every telescope, and to tell you the truth, they're not very good. Usually they're some tacky plastic plozzle that, Celestron throws in as a package because you're paying for the scope, not the eyepiece. But the eyepiece is just as important as the telescope itself. So what you want to do in the beginning is get yourself a good, simple eyepiece set consisting of, say, a wide field eyepiece, maybe a 40 millimeter down to, say, a 32 millimeter wide field eyepiece. Then you get a mid eyepiece somewhere between a 25 and a 20. And then you want to step down and get a higher power eyepiece somewhere between an 11 and a 9 millimeter. Those three eyepieces alone will give you good viewing if you got a good eyepiece. And it's so versatile because you can add a Barlow to them and double them up. So now you've got 6 eyepieces instead of 3. You want to try to get something with a wider field of view and a good eye relief. The generic eyepieces, the plozzles that come with the scopes nowadays are very, very small, very narrow. These you can't buy them anymore. You can find them on the used sites. They're called Pro Optic. If you look at the size of the lens that comes with this 1.25" eyepiece, they're incredible. You can get your eye almost an inch away from the eyepiece and still see in. You don't have to be tucked right in on top of the eyepiece with your eyebrows flicking the glass. Shop around, try to find something in a good price range, but get 3 good eyepieces, 1 wide field, 1 midfield, and 1 low power eyepiece, and then get yourself a good Barlow, and you're off to the races. That's really all you need for eyepieces. 1.25" is the way to go. When you start out, there's not too many people right off the bat by a telescope that end up with 2-inch eyepieces. Eventually, if you do get certain scopes, you'll want to move up, if possible, on your scope to a 2-inch eyepiece, and they are the way to go. It's going from a porthole to a picture window when you move up from 1.25" to 2-inch eyepieces, only because, again, look at the glass that you're looking into. I mean, it's just incredible. But it's very important that if you're going to spend quality money and buy a quality scope, you want to turn around and spend a little bit of money and buy some quality eyepieces to go with it. Don't be afraid to do the research. You don't have to run out and buy, $600 and $700 eyepieces. $100 eyepieces are a good investment because your view is only going to be as good as the scope and the eyepiece package put together. And as an accessory, that's number one. The first accessory you're going to go out and buy extra is eyepieces for your scope. Take the time, do some research, find out what kind of eyepiece is best for you, but get yourself an eyepiece set if you can, because it'll give you hours and hours and hours and hours of enjoyment viewing if you get the proper eyepiece to match your scope. There are some scopes that have a sweet spot and they don't like certain eyepieces. I've come across that too. I've used some nice eyepieces in a nice scope, and they just didn't want to give me good views. And yet I can turn around, throw it in another scope, and they give me gorgeous views. So, if you have an opportunity to go to a star party or public observing, don't be afraid to talk to people about the eyepieces that they have in there, because it's one of those things where not every eyepiece matches every scope. You want to, before you spend your money, you want to go out and see what is good for you and what matches your equipment. If somebody's got a C8, walk over to the C8 and see what they got in there for an eyepiece, if that's what you look at or you're intending to buy. So, it's again, your view is only going to be as good as the eyepiece that you look through. So take your time, do some research, just like when you're buying your telescope, and get yourself a set of eyepieces that are going to be really good for you and last you forever.
Did have one question here, Mike. Somebody asked the best place to buy eyepieces, I guess. So
Something, the Canada buy and sell site is where 90% of mine come from, or when you go to star parties and there's a buy and sell going on, I pick them all up there. I've never bought new. I bought a nice Meade 5000 set from a gentleman, and that's my favorite eyepiece set. It's 2-inch, the Meade 5000. I got them from a guy in Alaska for half the price that I would have paid new. And, don't be afraid to look around and buy used. The Canada buy and sell site, Cloudy Nights, Astromart, all of these places are really good places to shop for accessories of all kinds. And astronomers have a tendency to take care of their stuff. It's all in good shape. I haven't got anything that's been a dud, so to speak, yet.
yeah, agreed. Okay. What else are we going to talk about, Mike?
Well,
Paul's going to be talking about imaging, I guess. Have you got a battery pack there? Or? Oh, you're going to talk about filters. Yes, right.
just quickly before we get to imaging filters, another good accessory. If you go out and you're doing visual astronomy, a handy thing to pick up is a simple filter set. You can, Celestron has them, Meade has them, Orion offers them out there. They are usually, they're called like a planetary filter set, and then it consists of a red, a yellow, a blue, and probably a natural density filter. These ones are 1.25 inches. And you say, well, gee, what's that going to do for me? Surprisingly enough, if you're out viewing, say, Jupiter, and you want to start picking up some different detail that you just can't get through the eyepiece, you screw on, say, a blue filter, and it'll add some extra contrast to that. And all of a sudden now the great red spot shows up in blue, but it actually shows up. It jumps right out in front of your face. So, a blue filter is good for doing something like that. And another one is Mars. Excuse me for a sec. If you take the blue filter and put it on Mars, the poles will show up better. So, geez, I got this thing in the back of my throat and it won't go away. It just came along when I started talking. I'll step out for a second.
Yeah, we'll step over to we'll step over to Paul for a sec. No problem. Hey, Paul, you're up. We'll let Mike cough up a lung there and get him back, hopefully.
Right. Well, he's got 2 of them, so
Yeah.
it's okay.
He'll be back.
Some of the people that were commenting, one fellow says eyepieces can be a very long topic. Yeah, it definitely can.
Yeah.
Somebody was also looking for the link, Mike. Maybe Chris can send that link
Sure.
later.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, later. Oh, it's up on Facebook. Yeah, so I'll put the link up on Facebook after. Sure. Astro Buy Sell is one place. AstroBuySell.com. Go there for used ones. I mean, you don't necessarily need to buy new either, right? For sure. So that's a good place to pick up some used equipment for sure. Mike, you're back.
I am.
Hey, how you doing? Okay.
Didn't take long. Yeah.
All right.
Something went down the wrong tube.
There you go.
So just quickly again, I'll go back to the blue filter. Go to Mars. The blue will actually show you the poles better. You will see the contrast between the planet and the poles will jump out that much clearer. Some people say, I see it better with a red filter, or I see it better with a yellow filter. Something, buy a small filter set, try them around. Try all kinds of different filters. You'll find that some will work better for you and some will work better for others, but they definitely help in bringing out different features on, say, the planets, the moon, and things like that. That's why they sell them as planetary filters. Now, the basic set of 4 is like this. Me being me, you can go another route. And I decided to collect as many
How did I know that?
It covers every color of the rainbow of Ratten filter for just viewing. None of these are imaging filters; they're just viewing filters. So, and of course, putting them together in a pool cue box holds them together for me nicely. So,
Nice idea.
but a good filter set is a nice accessory to have. You know, it changes things up. You will bring out different uh, points of interest on a planet or something like that. When you're looking at it, the different colors will bring out different areas, and it's really cool. And they're not expensive. I mean, if you buy an individual filter, it's like $10, $12. If you buy a set, they're like $30. So that's just one I wanted to throw out there as planetary filters.
Yep. Do you have a battery pack there, or
I
one that you
do.
made, or one that you made? Because we do have a guy here who's asking, Mark's asking, by the way, I have a computerized base that takes batteries. Any battery packs you recommend? So Robert did comment on the Nautilus pack from Canadian Tire, 33 ampere hour. I know right now in St. John, they're on sale for $209. Seems a little steep, but they run about 300 and some dollars regular price. And they work well, but you get a lot of bells and whistles with them that you really don't want. They've got an air compressor. You know, maybe you're going to get stuck out in the middle of nowhere with your volleyball. You need to pump up your volleyball, or you might get a flat tire. Who knows? You know, but good to have. You can buy a little tiny air compressor now for like $15. So you really don't need that attachment. It has these fancy Nautilus lights on it, and a lot of bells and whistles that really aren't really important to us. It even has a power converter. What am I trying to say? The inverter. Yeah, power inverter to 110 volts, and that chews up a lot of battery power. But they do come with a 33 ampere hour deep cycle battery, which is good because deep cycle are meant to discharge, a lot, and they can be brought back easier than the standard batteries. AGM are the other good battery for that. Um, but I find that, I mean, you can't drop them any lower than 50% anyway because your telescope isn't going to work down around 11.5 volts or so. But they hold their power quite a while, and you can get a lot of nights out of one if you're just using a small telescope. But if you want to save some real money, Mike's going to show us what he had done on one of our previous shows on how to build your own battery pack. And Mike, take it away.
So what I've got here is went to Princess Auto and bought this so happens to be I think a 50 caliber ammunition box. They're good plastic. They're sealed. They're watertight. And what I did with this one is I mounted two 12 volt, 18 amp hour. I believe these are the emergency lighting system batteries that you can get. If you have a good friend that is in the business of getting batteries for you, it's real easy. The prices are really good. You can buy these batteries at Princess Auto, 7 amp hour, 12 amp hour, 14 amp hour. You can get them at numerous different places, but they are a lead acid battery. These two being 18 amp hour apiece, wired in parallel, in series. No, sorry, in parallel. It doubles the amount for me, so I get 36 amp hours out of this one battery box. And what I've done is I've just wired it up to 2 cigarette lighter plugs here, and I put it on an indicator light so that when I turn it on, the power's on. I put in a charger plug here so that I can plug a charger in, plug it into the wall, and it's a trickle charger. It'll bring it up if it takes a couple of days to charge, and then once it gets to full charge, it'll maintain it. And then 2 cigarette lighter spots to plug your gear into. That's it.
That easy.
For, under $50.
Yep, and they work really well. They last a long time, depending on, I'm sure. I mean, on the battery that you do get for them. A 7 ampere hour battery will run a Nexstar 6 usually for an evening easy, even with dew control on it. Easy to charge back up again, and 17 ampere hour work very well as well. So that they're more common sizes, I guess. Mike just walked away again on us. Oh, there he is. Hey, you're back.
Just
Hey,
battery pack on the other side of the room.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
Canadian,
the Canadian.
around my
Okay, so we've covered battery packs, we've covered dew heaters, we've covered eyepieces,
filters.
filters, uh, cell phone adapters. Guess we're up to imaging, aren't we? Let's.
We're gonna
Well, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah,
say we're eventually gonna get there.
yeah, we were. I think we've got yeah. So Mike or Paul, we're going to switch over to you now and see what we can
Well,
get.
before I get into
Okay,
my little part, maybe we'll do,
or Rosanna's fun fact.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
let's,
let me try to key. Let me. Yeah, you're going to have to just chat amongst yourselves there for a minute while I queue up. Okay.
Maestro isn't ready.
Yeah, need a second. It's
That's all
always
right.
ready, but it just seems to disappear every time I go to use it. So.
Well, okay, but while you're doing that,
Hmm.
I'll just mention one thing, um, and that is this. Oh, let me down here. Once you can get back to the bookstores, one thing that you're going to definitely need if you're going to go out there and do some sky watching, especially if you're new to the sky watching um, hobby, is you're going to need some information. And you can get this book here. It's called the Total Sky Watchers Manual, and this is just chock full of all of those accessories we've talked about, except for the ones that Mike makes, but it's the same idea. You still need batteries and all those filters and all that kind of stuff. It talks about telescopes, it talks about the planets, talks about constellations and all of that stuff. Even if you want to get into taking some pictures of the night sky, there's virtually everything in here. And it's a great guide to take with you out on the field um, because there's all kinds of star charts in it too. So you can get this at Indigo. You can order it online at Amazon if you want to. And these ones are usually on sale at Indigo for about anywhere from $15 to $20. And what an absolutely great book. It is called the Total Sky Watcher's Manual. And so it covers telescopes, naked eye astronomy, if you want to use binoculars, and it gets right into advanced techniques. So it covers a broad range of everything for everybody. So again, if you're getting into the looking for accessories, some of this information books are probably the best accessories you're going to have.
Yep, you're right. Absolutely. Got to find your way around the sky. Need yourself a map. You want to get from here to there, you better get a map. All right, let's see. Maybe I got it queued up. I don't know. We'll see if it works or not. I don't know.
I'm going to share my screen. Hold on.
Okay. Oh,
Let,
might be
let me
too
know
late.
when I'm ready.
Here, oh, should I hold up? Okay, I'll hold up. Now, see, I got it working, and now I held to hold up. Damn it. Get your screen up there. Oh, hang on. Share your screen. There you go.
All right.
Hey, oh, now I can't find it now. Just a minute. What a. Okay, here we go again. Hang on. Let's go again.
Okay.
It needs a second to load. Let's try this.
Now it's time for
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Hey, Peter. It
all
worked.
right. Well
I like
done.
it. We're getting better. We're getting better. It only took us
Yeah, you did
about
good.
6 months.
Perfect.
All
So it's
right.
good to have Rosanna back again this week. And we missed her last week. So welcome back, Rosanna, this week. And she's got a couple of different things that she had sent to me. And one I thought we might have did before. So I found this other one she sent to me. So we're going to talk about this one.
Okay.
So this is Rosanna's Fun Facts. She starts off by saying, these past weeks, for those of us not working or working quite casually from home, have the days of the weeks, especially Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, becoming skewed or feeling like misplaced a weekend day. Calendars have never been more helpful, for sure. Tabby Boyagens, and I hope I pronounced her name properly, star nicknamed WTF, the WTF star, means where's the flux? The title of her peer-reviewed journal article, which was not what you might have thought and not Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, also has more theories being put forth. Professor Boyajan but let's call her Tabby. Makes it easier to pronounce for me too, because I can't pronounce that last name. So we're going to call her Tabby. Back in 2014, notified by Planet Hunter citizen scientists, she flagged a star KIC 8462852, now known as Tabby's star, because it displayed a light curve that defied explanation. So this star showed transit-like dips and starlight seemingly at random, with some lasting a few hours and other persisting for days or even weeks. Sometimes the starlight dimmed up by 1%, characteristic for largest transiting exoplanets, but other times it plummeted by 20%. So no conceivable planetary system could produce such an extreme variable light curve. So there's lots of theories that, and several papers and various astronomers have put forth since 2014. Now let me just show you the picture that she sent. So in this illustration, it is a enigmatic light patterns. So to astronomers, there's usually no mystery behind a star fading in the sky, and star spots as well as shadows or planets and debris disk routinely dim. But what it's showing you here basically is a light curve. And then as something passes in front of a star, when you're actually measuring the light with certain instruments, the light will actually dim. And then it'll dim for certain periods of time, and then of course it'll recover again. So this is kind of the thing that this gal was talking about. Um, and I think you can go to YouTube. There's some YouTube links here that you can actually see some of these effects. But okay, so to attempt to reason and solve this mysterious stars dimming is better than some murder mysteries. And it's definitely a bit like traveling down the famous rabbit hole, and with no doubt provide great fuel for science fiction novels. And here's the latest theory. And she gives another um, link, which we'll put in there later. So the Columbia team suggests that Tabby star abducted by exomoon from a now long gone nearby planet and pulled it into orbit around itself, where it has been getting torn apart from stronger stellar radiation than existed in its former orbit. So there are predictions that a swarm of Trojan asteroids will eclipse Tabby star in early 2021, and the ring planet will be seen again in early 2023. To quote John Michael Gaudier, we shall see. The mystery continues.
Yeah.
So that's the story on enigmatic light patterns and why sometimes stars will dim and then recover because there's things that are actually going along the front of it. So
Wow.
that is this
This
week.
week's. Oh, come on.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
There.
Thank you so much, Rosanna. Your fun fact. That one was really good one. I really enjoyed that.
That was a good one, yeah. And we got the timing almost right that time. Wow.
Close.
Getting really close. Really close. We're almost there. Just that far away.
And maybe we'll actually see the star. I don't know.
We might do that too. Where are we at for time? We're at 9:02. Okay. I'm going to take just 10 seconds, Paul, and show quick photos, and then we're going to flip right over to you. So I had some. Hopefully I can get at them. Here we go again. We exit full screen here.
Here we go.
Here we go again. I think I got to dim this one down. And maybe I can bring this back up. Okay, now I think I can share my screen. And I think I gotta share this one to get it to work. All right, just be a sec. I'm gonna have to drag them over and drop them. There, can we see a picture?
Yep.
All right, so Emma sent this one in, Emma McPhee. She's from our Moncton branch of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. And Emma sent this picture of an owl with Mercury right there, little planet Mercury. You can barely see it there, but it is sitting there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I like the owl.
Nice, yeah, me too. Not sure what he's doing with Mercury, but still a pretty cool shot. Thanks, Emma. Yeah, he's having a hoot.
Well, I will be down.
I'll be down. Oh boy, here we go. Yeah. Okay, here let's bring up one from Robert Gadet, and Robert sends us this one. These were all taken with his DSLR. He said on his
Oh,
Meade
nice.
telescope, Whirlpool.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
Nice capture.
Yeah, nice color too. See, nice
Very nice.
color in the adjoining galaxy.
Yep. Cool. Another one here from Robert.
Oh,
Little triplet. Oh, nice capture.
Yeah,
it is.
nice colors.
Again with the DSLR. We've got a third here. Beauty shot of the moon.
Yes.
Good detail.
Lots of detail there.
Yeah, that's a good clear shot.
And I'm going to make sure I get this one closed first of all. Okay. And let's go back here to, oh, am I getting pictures coming up? Yes, they are coming up on Facebook too. Good. Okay. This one is on another one of the moon. Robert, I think the middle glow is sky glow, he says. Paul.
Yeah, that was just on the last shot he's talking about. I saw that.
Yeah, nice. Very nice capture.
That looks good.
Really
I
good.
like the color.
Like the colors, yeah.
See,
Yeah,
And there is a lot of color on the moon too, isn't there? Like different
yeah.
metals. Okay, and let's go to this one. Robert's final picture. Looks like the needle galaxy to me, is it?
Oh, it is the needle. Yes, it is.
very nice.
Very
Great
nice.
stuff, Robert. Good captures. Thanks for sharing those.
Absolutely.
And we got one here from a guy by the name of William Gill. And he's in Ireland, and he sent me this picture. Kind of neat. He sent it through Facebook tonight on my page. So he captured just earlier this evening.
Oh, look at that.
So he's got the moon here, and Venus or Mercury's right up in here. Enlarge that or not? I might be able to.
Yeah, I
Yep,
can see
can't.
it.
Here, okay, there it is. So we've got the moon, very slim crescent moon, little 4%, I guess tonight is all it is, waxing crescent, and little Mercury here and Venus down here, down below just near the tree line.
Beautiful.
And that's what's happening. Venus, of course, is getting lower and lower every evening as it gets down to what we call an inferior conjunction. So it's going to be between us and the sun on June the 3rd. And then a few days later, I guess about a week later, it's going to start popping up in our morning sky. So that'll be our morning star then. So yeah, Mercury never really gets that high. I've never really seen it quite that high in the sky. Our ecliptic path is quite high right now. The line that the planets seem to make across the sky, the sun and the moon travel that same path, and it's still pretty steep. So Mercury's sitting up pretty high, but Mercury never really drifts very far from the sun. So it's kind of unusual to get to see Mercury that clear, in an evening like this. Usually we don't get to see it quite that clear. So that's a nice little treat for us over the next week or so still. Before we lose Venus altogether, get a chance to get out and capture all three of these. Actually, the nice crescent moon, Mercury, and Venus will be all in a nice line here again tomorrow night. So a few more nights to be able to enjoy that for sure.
Absolutely.
So thanks very much, William, for sending that one over to me, and for Emma as well, and Robert. Very, very much appreciated all those shots. And if you would like to submit some of your pictures, let me close this window here. Just send them into Sunday Night Astronomy Show at gmail.com. That's all one word, Sunday Night Astronomy Show at gmail.com, and we'd be happy to offer them. There, okay, I think I'm back, and I'll stop sharing, and we're back on you, Paul.
All right. So,
Can I throw one quick picture up there?
Yep, sure, please.
So, this one here, I grabbed last night.
oh, look at that.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That's M101
M101.
with my new deep space imaging camera for the first light, so to speak.
First light on the new camera. Very nice, Mike. Congrats. Yeah. Good shot.
Wow.
M101 is so beautiful, but it's got very low brightness, right? Because it's so sparse, spread out. But
Well, you know what? You can see a lot of the faint detail on that. I can see those spiral arms reaching really reaching out there.
Yeah, beautiful.
Great detail.
Very
Well,
nice.
it's a learning curve, like you say, Paul. Eventually, they'll get better and better. But for first light and using the new camera for the first time, I was quite pleased.
Oh man. I,
Yeah,
amazing. That's
absolutely.
good. I love it.
Real nice capture.
There we
And
go.
that's what we think our Milky Way looks like, actually. Pretty well that same shape. There, okay, Paul, let's come back to you here.
All right. Well, okay. So flip on my screen here. There. You see me okay?
Yep, see you
You
great.
see my
Yeah,
my 5, maybe 6 o'clock shadow.
6:30.
Yeah, it's
I
a
was
little bit
growing a
later,
beard.
9 o'clock.
I was growing a beard, and I get it almost all out, and it was really white. So so I thought, you know what? I'm too young to be old, so
You would have matched the hat.
Yeah.
yeah, you can easily find me in the dark, right? All right. Well, I'll talk about a few accessories that we're going to need as well. Not necessarily imaging accessories, just keeping on the fact that the accessories we're talking about are basically for everybody to go out to enjoy a night of observing. So I'll try to keep in the observing vein a little bit. And I guess one of the first things that we should have when we go out there is a really, really good flashlight. And when you're out in the observing, if you've never been out observing before, the first thing you're going to find out is if you use a light like this and you're out in the field where everybody's eyes are dark adapted, you're going to get some people yelling at you, especially if you're not putting it to the ground. So what you really need to have is a red light like this. And the whole point behind the red light is the red light won't affect your dark adapted eyes. And it's a much, much dimmer light. And so, and other people out in the field, because we have to be courteous to them, if you're walking by and you're looking for something on the ground, or maybe they're going to say, have a look into this, and they want to show you where the eyepiece is. If you haven't used their scope, if you have a red light with you, you can find all those things without offending anybody or without ruining anybody's dark adapted eyes. You can get a little flashlight, like dual purpose flashlight like this, because you want the white light. So when you're off the field and you're going back to your car or your camp, you want to be able to see where you're going. So it's a dual purpose light. And they're usually about anywhere from $20 to $30, I suspect. Mike, you mentioned you had some on Amazon or something, I think, that kind of light.
Yeah, and you're right. They're all purpose. They do everything, and they run around $30, $20.
Yeah, yeah. So that's something you should have, because again, you can also go on a light if you're using that book that I mentioned earlier. If you want to look at star charts and things like that, to have a red light is a really great accessory to have. The next thing I want to show you is um, this is it's kind of like an eyepiece. It is an eyepiece, but it's what we call a zoom eyepiece. And so if you don't have a lot of eyepieces right away, and you don't really have the means to get a whole bunch all at once, this zoom eyepiece kind of covers the gamut of a lot of things. So this one will take you from 8 millimeters to 24 millimeters. So it's just like having like an 8, a 10, a 12, a 15, an 18, a 20, and a 24, all built into this one eyepiece. And all it is basically, it's a device that just zooms in and out. So basically, you just turn this handle like that, or that grip like that, and while it's in your telescope. So if you want to have a complete look at the moon, a nice full disc look at the moon, then you put it right to the 24, because you want the higher the number, the wider the field of view. And if you want to get really close to a specific feature on the moon, well, then zoom it right down into the 8, and then it's going to take you right into a nice close swath of that particular target that you're looking at. Or if you're looking at planets, planets are really, really small. You look at Jupiter, Mars, Venus, any of those things, any of those planets are quite small. So it's nice to be able to have the power to go in there and zoom up and be able to reach them. So a zoom eyepiece like this, typically anywhere from, I don't know, I'm going to guess, say 70 to $120 for one like this, for 1.25 inch. You can get some of the top end beta ones. I've got one right here actually. That's a beta zoom eyepiece. You can use it for it. It's a 2 inch or a 1.25. It's got facility on it. You can actually hook it right directly into your camera. I mean, and it's premium glass, premium mechanics, but it's beta, so that's what it's going to be. So if you want to go ahead and do something like that, those they can run you up around $300. So, but if you're just getting into the hobby and you want to start with, so I think Celestron make these. There's a few companies that make these. You can get them off Amazon, or you can support your local astronomy retailer, and they're all over the country. And most of them are shipping. Most of the time, they're shipping free. So, anyway, so those are a couple of eyepiece ideas I wanted to mention. Some focusing aids. So if you're out there and you want to get really, really sharp focus, for whatever reasons, maybe you're going to have somebody come along and take some pictures with your iPhone on your telescope and all that, and you want to make sure the stars are nice pinpoint stars, nice and sharp, then you can get what they call a batten-off mask, which is one of these things. And really all it is, it creates what they call a diffraction pattern. So you put this over the front of your telescope, the starlight goes through it, but then it breaks it into an X and a line that goes down the center. So then as you're focusing your telescope, what'll happen is the X will remain the same, but that line down the center either moves left or right. And the whole idea is to get it right dead center. So you've got your X like this, and then you've got that line going right directly in the center. Once you do that, just simply take your mask off and your telescope is perfectly focused. And you can get them for refractors, little small ones. You can get them for the great big telescopes, like for using a big Schmidt Cassegrain, that kind of thing. So these things are nice focusing aids that you can get, and they're very, very inexpensive. Probably $30, $40, maybe $40, $50 for something like that. Or if you're like Mike and you got yourself a 3D printer, you can print them for free. So those are nice things to have. Another article that is a nice thing to have if you have a Schmidt Cassegrain telescope. Schmidt Cassegrain are basically like that gray one that you see up there, or that orange one you see back here. And they have, when you put on the eyepiece on those, actually I can show you on this one. When you put on the eyepiece on these telescopes, there we go. They just screw on the back like this. So when you buy these telescope packages, they come typically with a 1 1/4 inch eyepiece and a 1 1/4 inch diagonal. But if you want to use 2 inch, you could take that right off, and then you can get what they call a visual back. And what it does, it converts this. Oops. Which stayed my new hands. I had this trouble the other day too. Maybe I'm not holding my foot the right way. There we go. So that just screws on, and then instead of having to use a 1 1/4 inch, if you do want to make the trip into the 2 inch world, then all you do, slide your 2 inch diagonal. Whoops. Nothing wants to work today. There we go. Slide your 2 inch diagonal in there, and then you can go ahead and use your 2 inch eyepieces and that kind of stuff. Very, very inexpensive rig, usually about $20 or $30, but it's worth its weight in gold, because I've gone out to plenty of star parties where everybody brought everything they want to use and they forgot their 2 inch visual back. This way here you can use your telescope with 2 inch eyepieces, 1 1/4, or if you decide you wanted to take some pictures and you got a telescope, then you're going to need a T adapter and a nose piece that just goes on the front of a camera. So if you have everybody's got cameras these days. Just take the camera lens off. Take the T adapter. It has to be made specifically for your Canon camera if it's Canon. And that just goes on the front of your camera. This nose piece is a separate thing altogether. So that just screws on the front of the camera, like so. And because you've got this 2 inch visual back, your camera will slide right into it. And now your telescope has become a nice, great lens for taking nice shots of the moon and that kind of stuff. If you don't have this and you still only have a 1 1/4 inch, like what's on here, this one happens to be a screw-on one. So this one, you just unthread this. And you can get a 1 1/4 inch nose piece that'll go on the front of your camera. So when you have your visual back on, the one that came with it, then you can simply slide the 1 1/4 inch one in there. So you can still take pictures with this, but it's always, in my estimation, better to have a wider swath of the sky. So anyway, so that's a couple of accessories that you can get to help take those nice photographs if you like. And let me see, what else? I got one more thing I want to show. Two more things I want to show. Get this out of the way first. And one of them is a little adapter. So if you wanted to take some nice Milky Way shots while you're using your telescope, what this adapter does, this just fits on, you take your finder scope off, and this will screw right on there on your telescope, like that. And then this has a T adapter in the bottom of it. So if you want to take your camera, and you just take your camera and you just screw that on just like you're putting it on a tripod, but it mounts on your telescope. So now your telescope tracking the sky properly, just put that on the side of your telescope and you can get those nice Milky Way shots. And, you know, instead of only getting 20 or 30 seconds, because that's all your camera can do without stars and rails, you can track with your telescope and you can get 2 or 3 minute exposures easily with that. So that little device you can get for around, again, $20, $30. And Celestron make them, but you can get off brands too. But the Celestron ones are made really, really well. Like they're solid, you know, they hold your camera, there's no slipping or anything like that. So that's a nice device. And the other thing I want to show you is right here. And what this is a binocular holder. So you can take your binoculars, and you put this on a mount on your tripod. So if you have a tripod like this, and you've got a set of binoculars, and you've got a big set of binoculars, you know, maybe you've got, you know, 15 by 70s or something like that, where they're, you know, a big binocular. When you're trying to look at nighttime objects with binoculars, they can't. Sometimes it's hard to hold the binoculars steady because they, you know, your hands shake and all that kind of stuff. So if you're not sitting in a chair and have your arms, you know, kind of like this, if you're just standing up a lot, well, then the easiest thing to do is to take your base that you get like this. You just mount it on your tripod, so it's like that. And on the front of your binoculars, between the eyeglasses, there's a little knob in there that usually just unscrews, and you just screw this right into the binoculars. Now this thing's holding the binoculars, and they're sitting on your tripod, and you're good to go for the night. So just make sure your tripod's high enough, you can stand up comfortably, and all night long you can just point your binoculars where you want, and you really don't even have to touch them with your hands, so you can get a much, much steadier look at the sky. And those you can get for, you know, $15, $20. They're very, very inexpensive. You can buy some really high-end ones, you know, which can run you a couple $100. But so long as it's solid, it's not just a cheap piece of plastic. So long as it's a solid one, typically they'll do a great job for you for a night of observing. And good time. I think that's about all I'm going to talk about tonight for accessories.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Paul. Good talk. Good stuff. Yeah, I think it sure looks like we're going to be able to lead into a second evening for talking about accessories. Yeah, we're into 9:30 or so now, I think, are we?
9:20.
9:20, yeah. So we're about 20 minutes over what a normal 1 hour show is, but there's so much material here to cover, and there's so much more we'd still like to talk about. So I think what we're going to do is maybe gather our information together for next week. And of course, next week is supposed to be our workshop week number 4. And on that week, we were going to talk basically about what to take with you when you go out underneath the night sky and how to make your evening the most enjoyable. So Paul's already talked about the fact of having star maps with you and a red flashlight. There'll be some other things that we can talk about as well as far as accessories go to take out with you and what kind of things that will really make your evening a lot more enjoyable, like something to help you with the bugs. They can really be an annoyance for sure. But that's probably what we're going to cover next week. We're going to get into some of that stuff, and we're also going to talk a little bit more about accessories because there are some accessories that I'm looking around here in my parts bins that we didn't talk about. And I'm sure you guys are feeling the same way. There's lots of things that we didn't get into very much tonight. So what we'll probably do then is call that a night for tonight, and we'll go ahead with next week. Next week again, we'll talk more on these little bit of accessories that we have left over, and how to enjoy your evening outside under the dark sky wherever you can be. Um, so I guess for in closing then tonight, I want to thank everybody here again for your continued efforts of our efforts here on our page. All of us are working really hard to try to keep this show alive. We know that we're not able to offer any night sky views right at the moment because the skies are still quite bright out there for us at the moment. But as we get into fall, we're going to be into some more clear skies, and we're going to get some deep sky objects viewing as well. As Mike gets zoomed up there on his new camera, which is going to happen pretty soon. So I want to remind you all again too that we love getting all your photos, and again you can send them to Sunday Night Astronomy Show at gmail.com. That's all one word, Sunday Night Astronomy Show, and we will collect them for our next show, and we'll get to show them hopefully next week. My special thanks again to Rosanna Armstrong for her Fun Facts episodes, and of course Mike and Paul, you guys for your continued contributions to the show here as well. I'd also like to say that if you enjoyed the content here tonight, please consider giving us a like on the episode, and please consider subscribing to us on YouTube if you haven't already done so. I would also ask that you share this with your family and friends, that we are live on every Sunday night, and we're continuing to be live every Sunday night as long as we can make it last, and as long as people tune in here to catch our show. And finally, of course, we'd like to wish you all of you a very good and healthy, safe week. Although the majority of our star parties have now been canceled for this year, we are still looking forward to sharing the views again from one of our local favorite spots, Saints Rest Beach here, just outside the Irving Nature Park. And I'm very glad that we still have this program to keep in touch with all of you. So keep mindful of the pandemic around you. Keep washing those hands. Practice your social distancing. Let us all get through this together and know that we're here to help you and entertain you each week at the same time. So from now then, from Mike, Paul, and I, stay safe, everyone, and we hope to see you again here next week. And as we all like to say, keep your scopes pointed up. Thanks for joining on, folks. Hope you enjoyed the program, and we'll catch you all again next week at the same time. Take care.
Good night.